Before the COVID-19 pandemic, deportations of undocumented immigrants and the policies surrounding the process were a regular part of news coverage. During the current crisis, news about deportations and immigration, like many other issues, has not been as prominent. But one man's recent removal from the United States caught the attention of his own community and beyond. NewsHour Weekend special correspondent Tom Casciato has our story.
Peekskill, New York sits on the eastern bank of the Hudson River, a former factory town now more a haven for artists. It's about an hour's commute from New York City. Among its many charms, it's a great place to see wintering bald eagles. These shots belong to a notable local photographer who shared them on a popular Facebook page. His name is Hazza Alomasi. He's known by his nickname, Anwar.
My girlfriend and I were here photographing eagles, and I have a professional camera that I have no idea how to use, and he noticed, and he came over and he showed me how to use it and which setting to have, which lens to put on. He was very, very nice.
He was just like that. He was a lovable person and very caring, very considerate of others.
I first met Anwar. He was working at a local gas station.
Most people don't make friends with their gas station attendant.
This gathering of Alomasi's friends in the bird-loving community took place shortly before New York's governor ordered the end of social gatherings. They came together to talk about him because suddenly he was gone. He had spent 22 years in the United States, living, working, and paying taxes, they said. The fact that he had never become a citizen wasn't an issue.
Here I am, a Jewish guy, okay? Pretty much born and raised in this area with a Muslim as now one of my closest friends.
Andy Starr is a sales and marketing consultant and wildlife photographer who often went out taking pictures with Alomasi.
I don't know the legalities, but from a civil rights standpoint, from a human rights standpoint, I think they got the wrong guy.
The legalities are complicated. Alomasi had first been told to leave the States in 2005, but the order was not enforced.
At that time, it was not uncommon for somebody to go through the process of, having a hearing in front of an immigration judge and ending up with a deportation order, with a removal order, and not leaving.
Attorney Camille Mackler directs the nonprofit Immigrant Advocates Response Collective. She says enforcement has changed from president to president.
So during the Obama administration, we really saw a huge increase in enforcement against immigrants. I mean, you'll remember President Obama was very famously labeled the deporter-in-chief.
But under Obama, ICE's priority was to deport persons who posed a threat to public safety or were more recent arrivals. Others were treated more leniently.
And so individuals who had been here for a long time, even living with deportation orders, but had sort of kept living here, kept contributing to their communities, kept growing their ties to the United States, were seen as a lower priority and therefore allowed to stay.
In 2011, Alomasi received what's called an order of supervision, meaning he would now check in regularly with an immigration officer. But regular check-ins weren't necessarily enough when President Trump took office. ICE's new mandate was to deport the undocumented, period. Last fall, Andy Starr accompanied his friend on a trip to the immigration office.
I saw a ledger that he had to sign on a regular basis with immigration. Every 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, he would have to go down to Federal Plaza, meet with his caseworker, and sign in. He went to sign in, and his caseworker told him to come back in 30 days. And he thought that was unusual. So he was thinking something's up.
Something was up. In January, another friend of Alomasi's, the mayor of Peekskill, Andre Rainey, received an unexpected phone call.
And he was just saying, hey, Andre, I need your help, man. I'm in a correctional facility in New Jersey, and ICE picked me up. ICE picked you up for what? Like, what are they picking you up for? And then I got the call Tuesday, the next day, that Anwar was gone.
Alomasi says despite telling ICE officials he feared for his safety if he was returned to Yemen, he was deported in late January, before he had a chance to see a lawyer, to a country in the midst of civil war.
Even the animals here in Yemen are paying the price. Even the animals here are paying the price. It's the war, and it's very sad.
Do you hope to return now to the United States?
Yes, it is like a dream. It's like going to heaven. It's like you're going from hell to heaven.
In the States, he had been active protesting human rights abuses in Yemen. He says that makes him a target now, and his life is in danger.
I have to hide, and I thank God my uncles has friends over here. They can take me every morning from one place to another place, and I stay in the taxi. The car has tent.
Alamacy's deportation drew national attention when it occurred. Democratic Senators Elizabeth Warren and Chuck Schumer took up his cause on Twitter. His lawyer says he has rights under U.S. and international law. Kai DeGraff. Doesn't the United States have the right to deport someone living in the United States who's not a United States citizen?
Yes, the United States does have legal rights to deport those people who are unlawfully present within its borders. At the same time, the United States is a signatory to an international treaty. Our legal claim is that based on the changed country circumstances in Yemen, he is eligible under the law to seek protection in the form of political asylum, withholding of removal, and for relief under the Convention Against Torture.
A former Obama security official and now a congressional candidate in Alamacy's former district, Evelyn Farkas, is backing Alamacy as well.
So my team looked into who Anwar al-Alamacy is, and we found nothing in his record that we could ascertain was problematic. In fact, he was here for 20 years. He attended Westchester County Community College. He was an avid nature lover. He was a photographer. He actually once rescued a snowy owl and returned it to a safe sanctuary.
We're in the middle of a pandemic, a national crisis. Why should we be paying attention to this story right now?
Because, first of all, international law is most important when we're in a crisis. This is something that I've learned as a national security professional. We put them in place so that we would have human rights guaranteed even during wartime, even during a pandemic. And yes, we're distracted by other things, but it doesn't mean that this isn't as important. In fact, I would argue it's more important.
So what are you asking for specifically now?
We filed a motion to reopen with the Board of Immigration Appeals, and we're asking that he be provided a hearing. Secondly, we are also requesting ICE to parole Anwar back into the United States so that he be given the hearing that he had requested while he was being forced on an airplane and deported back to Yemen.
U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, did not respond to NewsHour Weekend's request for an interview. The Department of Justice's Board of Immigration Appeals responded that it does not grant interviews. But cases like Alamacy's are hard to reopen, says attorney Camille Mackler.
Once that removal order has been executed, once the individual is out of the United States, it is incredibly difficult to have them granted because often the government agencies will take the position that they no longer have jurisdiction over that individual. So on its face, it's a very, very, very difficult case to win.
Alamacy is one of at least 3.7 million persons deported during the Obama and Trump administrations. No doubt he's not the first of them to love America, but he may be the most accomplished at documenting its national symbol.
And bald eagles, my favorite birds, and I love them so much. And I spend all day in wet river, in the cold water, just waiting to get them. And just the way they fly, it just, I spend almost from sunrise to sunset. I even get tired of them.
How ironic. Take a picture of the bald eagle, the American symbol. It's just...
He was not a citizen of the United States, but he resided here.
Paperwork may not say so, but we consider him a citizen. Paperwork doesn't always say everything.
It's hard. Just the fact that he's in danger. His life is in danger every day. And knowing that there's nothing that you can do. I messaged him yesterday and asked him if he wanted me to mention anything on his behalf. And he just said that he wants to come home as soon as possible.